Hello, and welcome to Great Sleep. Get ready to listen and relax. Today I will tell you a cozy bedtime story about the town blacksmith who helped the townspeople who came to his workshop. One day he was brought a magic amulet, which he had to repair and use to save the town. The town of Oakwood stood nestled in a picturesque valley, surrounded by rolling hills and lush forests. Its cobblestone streets wound their way through the town, lined with medieval-style buildings adorned with colorful flowers and ivy-clad walls. The scent of fresh bread wafted through the air, mingling with the sound of laughter and chatter that filled the bustling market square. In the heart of the square stood Thomas Ironsoul's blacksmith shop, its doors wide open to welcome customers and friends alike. Thomas was a skilled blacksmith, known throughout Oakwood for his craftsmanship and kind heart. He had a tall, sturdy frame, with hands that were calloused from years of hard work at the forge. His eyes were a warm shade of brown, always twinkling with kindness. As the sun began to rise over the horizon, casting a golden glow over the town, Thomas emerged from his shop and made his way to the market square. He greeted the townspeople with a smile and a nod, stopping to exchange pleasantries and hear their stories. "Good morning, Mrs. Jenkins," Thomas said as he passed an elderly woman selling fresh vegetables. "How are your tomatoes coming along this year?" Mrs. Jenkins beamed at him. "Oh, Thomas, they're the best I've ever grown. Would you like a few for your dinner tonight?" Thomas chuckled. "I wouldn't say no to that, Mrs. Jenkins. Thank you." He continued on his way, stopping to help a young boy untangle his kite from a tree branch and listening attentively as a farmer shared his concerns about a recent drought. Thomas's genuine interest in the lives of others endeared him to the townspeople, who saw him as more than just a blacksmith but as a friend and confidant. Thomas's kind heart was evident in all his interactions. One day, as he was working in his shop, a friend approached him with a broken wagon wheel. The man looked distressed, knowing that repairs would be costly. "I'm sorry, Thomas," he said, his voice filled with worry. "I don't know how I'll afford to fix this wheel. It's my only means of transporting my goods to the market." Thomas paused his work and looked at his friend with a reassuring smile. "Don't worry, my friend. I'll fix it for you, free of charge. Just bring it back to me tomorrow." The man's eyes widened in surprise and gratitude. "Are you sure, Thomas? I can't ask you to do that." Thomas patted his friend's shoulder. "Consider it a favor between friends. You've helped me countless times, and this is the least I can do." True to his word, Thomas spent the evening repairing the wagon wheel, carefully hammering and shaping the metal until it was as good as new. The next day, his friend returned to collect it, a look of astonishment on his face. "I can't thank you enough, Thomas," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "You've saved me a great deal of hardship." Thomas simply smiled and shook his head. "No thanks needed, my friend. Just promise me that you'll pay it forward someday." One evening, as Thomas was closing up his shop for the day, a stranger entered, their cloak pulled tightly around them. The stranger's face was hidden beneath the hood, casting an air of mystery around them. "Good evening," Thomas greeted them cautiously. "How can I help you?" The stranger's voice was low and raspy as they replied, "I've heard that you are the finest blacksmith in Oakwood, Thomas Ironsoul. I have something that needs your expertise." Thomas raised an eyebrow, intrigued by the stranger's words. "What is it that you need me to do?" The stranger reached into their cloak and pulled out a small, shimmering object. It was a broken amulet, once adorned with intricate engravings and glowing with a faint magical aura. "This amulet holds great power," the stranger explained. "But it has been damaged, and its magic is fading. I believe only you can repair it." Thomas took the amulet in his hands, his fingers tingling with a faint energy. He examined it carefully, recognizing the craftsmanship and the remnants of its former enchantment. "I can see why you came to me," Thomas said, his voice filled with curiosity. "But repairing such a powerful artifact won't be easy. It will take time and skill." The stranger nodded solemnly. "I understand the risks, but Oakwood's safety depends on it. Will you help me?" Thomas looked into the stranger's eyes, seeing a deep sense of purpose and urgency. He nodded resolutely. "I will do everything in my power to repair this amulet. Bring it to me tomorrow, and I will begin the task." The next day, the mysterious visitor returned with the broken amulet, placing it gently on Thomas's workbench. The blacksmith examined it once more, his brow furrowed in concentration. "I will need some time to assess the damage and devise a plan for repair," Thomas said, his voice steady with determination. "Rest assured, I will do everything in my power to restore its magic." The visitor nodded gratefully. "Thank you, Thomas. The fate of Oakwood rests in your hands." With those words hanging in the air, the visitor departed, leaving Thomas alone with the broken amulet. He knew that the task before him was not only one of craftsmanship, but also of great responsibility. Over the following days, Thomas poured all his energy into repairing the amulet. He studied ancient texts on magical artifacts, seeking guidance and inspiration. His fingers danced across the metal, carefully reshaping and re-engraving the intricate designs. He worked late into the night, fueled by determination and a growing sense of purpose. As Thomas delved deeper into the repair process, he encountered challenges that tested his patience and resourcefulness. The amulet's magic was intricately woven, and any misstep could result in irreversible damage. One evening, as he struggled to restore a particularly delicate enchantment, Thomas felt a wave of frustration wash over him. He set down his tools and sighed, feeling overwhelmed by the task at hand. Just as he was about to give in to doubt, a soft voice echoed through his mind. "Patience, Thomas. Patience is the key to unlocking the amulet's power." Thomas looked around in surprise, searching for the source of the voice. Then, his gaze fell upon a small, weathered book tucked away on a nearby shelf. It was a book of ancient wisdom, passed down through generations of blacksmiths. He reached for the book and opened it, finding a passage that seemed to speak directly to him. It spoke of the importance of patience and perseverance in mastering the art of enchantment. Inspired by these words, Thomas resumed his work with renewed determination. He approached each challenge with patience and care, learning from his mistakes and growing more skilled with each passing day. As Thomas neared completion of the repair, the threat to Oakwood grew more imminent. Strange occurrences began to plague the town: unexplained fires, crops withering overnight, and a pervasive sense of unease that hung in the air. The townspeople, aware of Thomas's task, sought him out for guidance and reassurance. They looked to him as their beacon of hope, trusting in his ability to protect them. One evening, as Thomas walked through the market square, a young girl tugged at his sleeve, her eyes wide with fear. "Mr. Ironsoul, what's happening to our town? Why are these things happening?" Thomas knelt down to meet the girl's gaze, his voice gentle yet determined. "There is a threat looming over Oakwood, my dear. But I promise you, I will do everything in my power to keep you and everyone else safe." The girl nodded, a glimmer of hope returning to her eyes. "I believe in you, Mr. Ironsoul." Thomas smiled and patted her cheek affectionately. "And I believe in the strength of this town. Together, we will overcome this." Word of the impending threat spread throughout Oakwood, and the townspeople began to rally behind Thomas. They recognized his selflessness and the importance of his task, knowing that their safety depended on it. In the market square, Thomas stood atop a wooden crate, his voice carrying across the crowd. "My friends, I stand before you today not as a blacksmith, but as someone who cares deeply for this town and its people. The amulet I have been repairing holds the key to protecting Oakwood from the threat that looms over us." The townspeople listen attentively, their faces filled with determination and resolve. "I cannot face this threat alone," Thomas continued. "I need your support, your strength, and your trust. Together, we can overcome any obstacle that comes our way." The townspeople erupted into applause, their cheers echoing through the square. They pledged their support and offered their assistance in any way they could. Thomas's heart swelled with gratitude and a renewed sense of purpose. He knew that with the strength of the town behind him, they would face whatever came their way. As Thomas worked tirelessly to complete the repair of the amulet, the threat to Oakwood grew more imminent. Shadows loomed over the town, and the air crackled with an otherworldly energy. The townspeople prepared for battle, gathering weapons and fortifying the town's defenses. They trained under Thomas's guidance, honing their skills and preparing for the final confrontation. Thomas felt the weight of his responsibility, knowing that the fate of Oakwood rested on his shoulders. But he remained resolute, fueled by a determination to protect his home and the people he cared for. With the amulet finally repaired, Thomas turned his attention to understanding its power. He sought guidance from an old wise woman who lived deep within the forest surrounding Oakwood. She was rumored to possess ancient knowledge of enchantments and magic. Through winding paths and towering trees, Thomas made his way to the wise woman's cottage. The air was thick with mystery as he approached, his heart pounding with anticipation. The wise woman greeted him with a knowing smile. "Thomas Ironsoul, I have been expecting you. Come, sit by the fire, and let us delve into the secrets of the amulet." For days, Thomas studied under the wise woman's tutelage, learning how to harness the amulet's power. He discovered its abilities and limitations, honing his control over its magic. Through trial and error, he grew confident in his ability to wield it against the impending threat. The day of reckoning arrived, and the threat to Oakwood launched its attack on the town. Dark figures emerged from the shadows, their eyes glowing with malice as they descended upon the town. Thomas stood at the forefront, the amulet gleaming around his neck. The townspeople rallied behind him, their weapons raised and their determination unwavering. With a flick of his wrist, Thomas unleashed the amulet's power, a brilliant light enveloping him. He fought with an otherworldly grace, striking down the enemies that threatened Oakwood with each swing of his hammer. The battle was fierce, with both sides fighting fiercely for victory. But Thomas's leadership and the amulet's power proved to be too much for the enemy. Slowly but surely, Oakwood began to gain the upper hand. Through Thomas's unwavering determination and the combined strength of Oakwood's inhabitants, the enemy was vanquished. The townspeople rejoiced, their cheers echoing through the streets as they celebrated their hard-fought victory. They gathered around Thomas, their faces filled with gratitude and admiration. They praised his selflessness and bravery, recognizing him as their hero. Thomas humbly accepted their praise, his heart filled with gratitude for the support he had received. He acknowledged the strength and bravery of the entire community, knowing that it was their collective effort that had led to their triumph. With the threat vanquished, Oakwood began to rebuild and heal. The townspeople worked together to repair the damage caused by the battle, their spirits lifted by their recent victory. Thomas returned to his blacksmithing, continuing to help and support his community. He crafted new tools and weapons, ensuring that Oakwood would be prepared for any future challenges that may arise. The story of Thomas Ironsoul and the amulet became a legend in Oakwood, passed down through generations as a reminder of the power of kindness, selflessness, and the strength of community. As the years passed, Oakwood thrived, its cobblestone streets filled with laughter and the sound of bustling market activity. And at the heart of it all stood Thomas Ironsoul, the blacksmith with a kind heart and a spirit that would forever be remembered in the annals of Oakwood's history.